The weird thing about mental illness is the fact that as time goes on, more and more people are giving it attention. You can go through any sort of school in general. Just it could be elementary school or middle school or even high school and sometimes even college. And you're gonna see multiple people who are suffering with multiple different conditions. And that's completely normal and fine. That's part of life. And as people progress, we start to learn that there are these things in our brains that we cannot fully understand, but happens on such a mass scale that we need to address. And that is specifically what I'm trying to do with this channel. I'm trying to express a version of understanding from my personal point of view to yours. This is Art of the Mentally Ill, where I take my experiences with mental illness and I turn it into pieces of art for you guys to enjoy. So, without further ado, let's get into the art. I've talked about this before, but there are times in a psychotic episode where I'll look in my reflection and I'll see something different reflected back at me. It's not exactly common. My auditory hallucinations are much more common than my visual hallucinations, and I suffer with both, but mainly auditory. So when I say I see someone looking at me from someone else different, a separate being looking at me where I should be in my reflection, that kind of sets off a weird tick in my head. The first time this happened, I was in a mental hospital and I would look in the mirror and I'd see this thing staring back at me. I sort of made fun of it, thinking it was, oh, it looks like the blue people from Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar. James Cameron, is that his name? I don't know. But essentially, this is a version of me that I don't recognize. Something about me. I like to think that it is an embodiment of the things that I do not understand about me. I'd say probably blue and yellow because those colors stand out the most in my mind. Uh, Whenever I talk to doctors about it, they say there's always symbolic meaning behind each of your hallucinations, and I like to think that they're right. I like to think that they're right, but sometimes I just doubt way too much. This is a painting done on canvas with acrylic paints. The next one I'm going to show you was done with acrylic ink, but that's a whole separate story. Essentially, this is what I would see while going in a psychotic episode, and it's not something that many people have. I mean, when it comes down to it, psychosis is something that doesn't affect the majority of people. So in psychosis, like I explained in other videos, there are things known as negative symptoms. And negative symptoms are some of the cognitive distortions that people experience, like not being able to remember things or not being able to, like retain information or properly understand and assess whatever situation they're in. They get either really slowed down or really sped up. And this is what I like to embody. This is what I'd like to portray, that sped up sense. I wanted to portray something that looks chaotic, that looks like there's literally Jackson Pollock throwing a bunch of paint onto a canvas, but I tried to give it a little bit more effort. I splattered some paint on it and then I painted in with acrylic ink this form, a form that I like to describe as my embodiment of these negative symptoms. Negative symptoms are symptoms that take away what you should have, like those cognitive distortions or lack of memory or depression, lack of motivation, stuff like that. And it's something that I wanted to convey in a piece, not exactly painting a hallucination, but more painting my response or painting what I believe is not impersonation, but something that is a personification of those symptoms. Because sometimes when I feel like killing myself, honestly, time speeds up and slows down at the same time, if that makes any sense. What I'm trying to say is time is strange while you're going through a psychotic episode, especially when you're experiencing negative symptoms. And it's something that I would not wish on anybody. So, I hope you enjoyed. This was a little bit of a late video that I haven't put on for a while because I'm doing these short little concept-based videos that I noticed that are getting attention from a few people, especially my talks about certain psychological effects like the mere exposure effect. That's been getting a bit of attention, so woohoo! But I know that a lot of you, and the main reason you're subbed is to see Art of the Mentally Ill, and I'll try my best to keep up with these uploads, so please bear with me. And remember, if you're in an emergency, I have emergency links down below. If you ever need someone to DM, you can DM me. My social media is down below. So, hope you enjoyed. Stay safe out there, guys. Shoots.